Okay, hi everyone. My name is Ianu, and welcome to You Have a Story podcast. And on this episode, we have an amazing woman. Her name is Gladwell, and I call her my social media sister because we've been having lots of interactions on Instagram. You need to see our charts. It's epic.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she's the owner of lesovybze. It's like an Afrocentric store. And she's also a nurse like myself. And so make sure you check her out website. She's also on Etsy. She has amazing products, of which I have a few. And she's also had an experience with cancer. Her mom was diagnosed with cancer. Her mom is in remission right now. Glory be to God, and she's here to share a story because we're telling stories at ToTsFrishion, and this is what we're doing. We're here to encourage one another. And so, without wasting so much time, we're cutting to the chase. We're going right into it. So tell us about yourself.
About myself. So I am an immigrant, born and bred in Kenya, East Africa. I was born, I have a single mother. I have two siblings. Um, I grew up there and went through high school partially and came here during junior high. So, oh no, actually, not junior high. What is it? Secondary. It's form two. It's junior. Yeah, yeah. So as a junior in high school, so I came here and then I went into a community college and I got my associates of arts, and then I transferred from there and into a university and I got my nursing, and then I started working in a rehab, and now I work in the operating room. So that's my professional background. But as far as an immigrant, I've been here since way back in the 2000s. So it's been a while, over 20 years or so. And I've been blessed to have two children, one that's 15 and one that is just currently, I went back to square one, and she is 2.5 years old. I have a awesome husband, and we live in an RV. We live that
Oh,
tiny life. I also have, I started a Lalam Toto Designs LLC, which is, I sew blankets, which she has some, yeah. Um,
good.
Yes. So I sew African fabric with blankets and mostly East African, kanga, leso, and then kitenge. And then I also started leso vibes because I was getting really tired. So I started leso vibes, which is more like of a print on demand and with like accessories and stationery, and it's Afrocentric kind of background mashed in. And now I do the blankets and the Afrocentric apparel all together. So that's me in a nutshell.
Amazing,
Yep.
amazing. And guys, let me tell you, a blanket, like it's like my favorite blanket right now. When you say an adult, when you have like a 26-year-old with a blanket, with a favorite blanket, that's me. That is me.
Yeah.
So soft. I take it everywhere. Like I love traveling. It goes with me everywhere. So amazing stuff that you do, amazing stuff. And I'm so
Thank you.
glad to have you here.
Thank you.
So like moving on, like what experience have you had with cancer?
So my mom was diagnosed while we were in Kenya. She was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So the thing is, when she was diagnosed with that, we were, she's always been a single mother, very strong woman. So she really didn't want us to kind of fret about it or be like, because she was so far from us, because she was in the US and we were currently living in Kenya. So she went through that while trying to get us to actually immigrate here. So she went through all the paperwork and um, all the necessary documentation that was needed, and she was working at the same time. So yes, my mom has been she's strong. So my experience is through her indirectly. Um, experiencing her in remission and all sorts of residuals that come after cancer has affected you as a family and in life. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing how you said like she was working and she was going through cancer at the same time. I can't really comprehend that because it's just a lot on its own working and then being diagnosed with like a chronic illness. That's a big deal and I really
Yes.
want to commend her. I feel like God was just on the side. It
Very
really was.
much. Very
Yeah.
much. Yeah. Yeah, she really talks when she's a very reserved person. So I don't, but she does talk about the experiences now that we're grown up. She kind of doesn't, she's always been she kind of shielded us as kids, but um when she talks about how she used to work, and if you are an African, you know that you work double shifts. We call it double double. So she would work like it can't go double shift. She would work like shift after shift after shift just to raise money for us. And then she would get on a bus because she couldn't afford to get on the plane. She'd get on the bus and come all the way from Washington to California to see the
Wow.
lawyer for the immigration thing that we're going through, because we came here officially legally, but it was a little bit, it was tough. So she
Yeah.
had to go through the lawyer and all that, and she had to get on the bus and go overnight and do what she needed to do and come back and do her shifts, and she was going
Mhm.
through all this while she had cancer. Yeah,
Wow.
so I do commend her. She's a very strong woman. I really, really appreciate her as an adult, exactly, especially having children of my own. I get to see um, a struggle that you have as a parent, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I commend her. Yeah.
That's that's amazing. As an immigrant too, and as my parents are also immigrants, and I know they work double shift all the time, especially
Hmm.
when I was still in school. I can really relate to what you said, and they've sacrificed so much,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
when they're not well, when they're sick, they still sacrifice so much just to give us a better life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Lots of sacrifice.
yeah.
And I'm pretty sure we'll sacrifice, but a second generation is a little bit different than when you actually immigrate here with nothing but a suitcase and you
Mm-hmm.
don't know where you're gonna go, and you make a life for yourself and your kids. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you succumb to I feel like it's almost like it was a blessing somehow that she got it while she was here and not in Kenya. With the advancement of medicine here, like it's still developing back in Kenya now. It's much better, I'm pretty sure, but
Yeah.
it's different with the advancement of that. They were able to detect it, and they were able to actually give her the medication and the treatments that actually worked for her to be able to go under remission, to be treated for that. So I feel like it was a blessing that she came in and she had it here versus in Kenya. I think the prognosis would have been a little bit different with the environment that we have back home, and
Yeah.
the advancement of medicine back in the days. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a very good point, and I'm glad she was. It's just being at the right place at the right
God.
time. Like,
Yes.
when God orders your
God's
step,
time. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, the
Yeah.
best timing because it knows how to resolve everything. So
Yeah.
that's great. That's great. Amazing. So moving on, how did you navigate life, you yourself, when your mom was diagnosed and living with cancer? I know you said you weren't really together, but how did you navigate life? What was going on through your head?
Well, what was going on back then? I was in high school struggling to do my partially, well, no, actually I wasn't in high school. I was in secondary, no, primary school.
Yeah.
So I was trying to navigate doing my exams and doing all this and just dreaming about the land of milk and honey. So I never got to actually feel per se navigate through that, because she shielded us. So I would say
Mm,
indirectly she shielded us. So I had a better life, not worried about her, because of her shielding us from telling us what was really going on. So
right.
I feel like because of that, I had a better childhood. I would say I've always had a great childhood because of her. But looking back, I'm like, her when she talks about it, how she navigated it herself. I just think that the Lord was walking through her step by step, because I don't think that strength that she had would have come just from her. It came from above. That was something that was not something that was not human, I would say. It was supernatural. So, and that joy that we have, was from her knowing the Lord, and having that strength and shielding us. And then we had that, we were having you know, enjoying our life. We didn't know. So I kind
Yeah.
of thank her for that,
Yeah.
It would have been a different case if she would have gone downhill, and I probably would have wanted to know. Then she probably would have kind of disclosed that to us, but she didn't.
Yeah. It's amazing how our parents, like, they shield us even while providing for us. They still shield us in a way because they don't want us to be mentally down. So they know whatever it is that's gonna bring, like, that's gonna make us sad. They kind of
Hmm.
like just shield us from it. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like
I
just all
Yeah,
sacrifice, part of it, all the sacrifice they make for us.
I know.
Yeah.
Adulting, I tell you. And also culturally, I think maybe I wouldn't say really culturally. I would say in our household, we kind of grew up with my mom being very strong, because she had to be the dad and the mom for us and other
Hmm.
people's children on top of that. So
Yeah.
it was her character to just be to be strong. She knows nothing else. She probably, I'm pretty sure she had her moments of weakness, and everybody does
Hmm.
have that, but she had to be strong for us. So it is kind of like how we grew up around her. She's a very, very, very strong woman, I would say. Now I know the incredible strength she has. I don't know if I would have done what she did. you know, it would have been a
Yeah.
different, yeah. So, and that willingness to fight for her
Yeah.
life, and
Mm.
yeah. And I
Mm.
think another thing that actually caused, how she navigated through that was knowing that she had a goal, and her goal was to bring her children here to have a better life.
Mm.
um and so she was working towards that, and probably that, that she was just keeping on seeing, being focused, that she would be able to bring us here, immigrate, so bring us here, have a better education, have a better life, live a, then not that home wasn't, but with the opportunities that we was there here. And she would have, like scholarships and all this stuff, that she could
Yeah.
provide money for college and stuff like that. So that was probably one of the greatest goals that she had, that helped her navigate, apart from God.
Yeah.
It was her children, which is us.
Yeah. There's always something that motivates us. Everyone's different, but there's
Mhm.
always just one thing that keeps us going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, what sustained you? I know you kind of touched on it, but what sustained you during this challenging time? I know you didn't really know a lot, but what kept you going even after you knew like your mom was in remission? Because sometimes there's this fear that, oh, what if it comes back?
Yeah.
So, what is sustaining you right now?
I think it's the strength that comes from the Lord
Mm-hmm.
first. And secondly, to know that she has that strength that comes from the Lord. We just kind of like let go and let God kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because if you have that belief of a higher, you know, this is kind of also not it's kind of like you resolve. It's not really just, it's not the end, so this is just what happens here, if you're a believer. um
Yeah.
and so knowing that she believes in the Lord, it's kind of like you have that peace. So um it's what's kind of sustains me. Also, the fact that she also is very good with um keeping up with her health. You can
Yeah.
see it, especially as being a nurse. I know you kind of understand when you have to have those teaching points when you're talking to a patient about diabetes, or if it's children, you're talking about, you're teaching them a lifestyle, like,
Yeah.
per se. So knowing that she had this lifestyle where she kind of she's totally changed her lifestyle, and even at home she was like that, but here she has to be extra careful because of
Mhm.
what is in the food, what you drink, the sugar, all these processed foods, all this stuff. She's always been like that in Kenya, but now it's kind of like over because here you have more, unlike home.
Mhm.
um so knowing that she has this lifestyle on top of that, having her faith, having that lifestyle, and knowing that everything is just, you know, you kind of just let go and
Yeah.
trust the Lord, and
Yeah.
it is what it is. Kind of, it's a peace that you have. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. Mm.
That's amazing. The last point that you said, like it's the peace that you have, because like when you have that trust in God, that whatever that comes your way, He's gonna find a way out for you, whether good or
Mhm.
bad. It's gonna result into something purposeful. Like looking
Mhm.
at back at my own self when all these things happened, when I had this challenge with like my biological mom having cancer, I thought the
Mm.
world ended me. I really didn't see myself like coming here, even having the brand and even inviting people to come share their cancer story. So I
Mhm.
usually say that everything that was meant for evil, like what the enemy meant for evil, always results into something great.
Mhm.
So it's amazing
Yes,
how
absolutely.
God, once we trust God, it just wraps us in His love and gives us that like unquestionable peace.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. So, lastly, like,
Yeah.
how has changed your perspective about life in general?
Life is short.
Yep.
Anything can
Period.
happen. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've never really I did okay. So I had an experience to sort of like not really my mom, but I had to have an emergency laparotomy. It was like an emergency surgery. They cut you open, go in. So what had happened is I had a tumor, and it was benign. It was not malignant,
Okay,
but
thank God.
it could have gone other way. But having that, going in, having this pain, going into the emergency room, and having that the doctor come in and say you have a tumor, you know, kind of just burst your bubble, and you're living your life, and the next day you're being rushed into surgery, you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it's kind of like on top of that, and like with my mom, or what she went through, it's being the strongest woman ever that I feel is, she's just so strong. Also have cancer or go through cancer, even though I wasn't there, and you see the results or the residuals of it, and how she's changed her lifestyle. Then you kind of see that it's not, life is very fragile,
Yes.
and you shouldn't take it for kind of granted,
Mm-hmm.
that you should live. I know it's very cliche when they say live your life like it's your last, live every day like it's your last, but it, seriously speaking, it's a very it's very real. So that kind of just has changed my perspective, knowing that life is very fragile, and hug the ones you love, tell them you love them every day. You know, d- if you have a belief in higher power, you have, search your soul, kind of read the word if you are, and go closer. It's kind of find that also, another thing is finding that this body that we have, anything can happen to it. So having your identity kind of just attached to this, because when you go through cancer, sometimes you get these deformities, or you get, you with chemo, your skin kind of has a glossy look, and all this, you look different. That also apart from life being fragile, is that also know that this body is also just kind of, it's not about, your happiness not about attached to how you look, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
another big one. um because anything can happen today or tomorrow, and you could be in a fire and you get burned, so you have to have that anchor,
Yeah.
because so that you can go through, the life's ups and downs, kind of. That's my perspective on of it.
Yeah. I love what you said about our bodies, because I used to be someone who was very conscious of the way I look. It was like not until I would say recently that I just started getting out of my shell, being comfortable with the way I look. Because I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I don't like the way my eyes look, they're too big. I don't like the way my teeth look, or I don't like the way my face look, they're too crooked.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
it says like we are wonderfully and fearfully made. Once we know
Mm-hmm.
that, we are unique in our own self, and no two people can be the same. We just can't just appreciate ourselves, and it gives us a different view about life and just enjoy life
Mm-hmm.
the way it is.
Yeah,
So thank you.
absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Yeah, you this is amazing. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for bringing light. Thank you for encouraging people out there. Like let me just ask you, what would you say to someone whose mom or like loved one is in remission right now? What would you say to them?
I would say I could say, okay, so I would say, first of all, you have to remember that they're in remission. There's then the work is not done here on
Mm,
earth. So they're here for a purpose,
mm,
and you
mm.
should always be that anchor to remind them that when they get, um always remind them that you're here for a purpose, because sometimes you kind of feel low on their days that, even if not related to cancer, they might have low days, days that
Yeah.
they don't feel so good. Then remember you went through this, and you overcame it, and that means you have a reason. There's a reason you're here. So grab that reason, find that purpose, fulfill that purpose. Another thing is to love on your loved one. Hugs, kisses, tell them you love them. Just don't tell them, show it.
Right.
um, Very often. Make sure that they know. Another thing is, always be prepared if you have kids and family. Um, Sometimes it's the toughest things to talk about, but it's also good to talk about what if it happened. If something happened to you, what would how would it look like, kind of thing. Not that you want to focus on that, but sometimes people don't have a living will. They don't have You don't want to discuss about, but it's something that has to be discussed, because I've seen so plenty of time where you have, I'm speaking perspective as a nurse working. I once worked in a geriatric facility, and I saw how the families would kind of grapple. It kind of, when something happens to their matriarch, patriarch, whoever was the grandpa, grandma, or dad and mom, and the family just kind of, because there was no living will. So that's another thing that people don't discuss, that should probably be something that you should discuss. So that people, especially if you're going through cancer, also lifestyle, taking care of yourself, and making sure that you take care of yourself before, even during, and after, while you're experiencing all this. um yeah, lots
Yeah.
of lots of things going through my mind. No one specific, no one specific
Answer. But
yeah, answer to that.
you made some good points. You made some good points, especially with like lifestyle change and making sure you have your I's dotted and your T's crossed, because you want to make sure you have everything set, because it's not like the last minute. I'm talking to myself too. Now in the
Mm-hmm.
last minute you start like going to a lawyer and writing up a will. Maybe it might be too late then. So you made some valid point, and I know someone is really encouraged by this. So, thank you once again for sharing your story,
Thank you
and
for having me.
you very welcome, and thank you for being our first guest. We
Oh,
know,
yeah, I feel privileged. Thank you
yeah,
for inviting me so much.
You're very welcome. It was a pleasure having you, and had a great time. All right. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Bye.